like to invite everybody to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd like to welcome each of you to our City Council meeting this evening for May 16th, 2017. We appreciate that you have taken the time out of your busy day to attend, participate, and see your local government at work. I'd like to highlight that this meeting agenda includes 3 different parts to reflect the business of the local building authority, the redevelopment agency board, and the City Council. I'd like to make that distinction for the public's understanding and to ensure that we have a clear record. A little known fact, City Council members don't just serve as the City Council. When we're elected to serve as the Redevelopment Agency Board as well as the Local Building Authority Board. Think of it as the City Council wearing 3 different hats. We are beginning with the business of the Local Building Authority, and then we will move on to the RDA business agenda, and finally we will conclude with our City Council business. To start the meeting, we have laid out some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure people feel comfortable and safe to participate when giving public comment. These guidelines apply whether we are acting as the local building authority, the redevelopment agency, or the City Council. And they are as follows. Please be respectful during other people's comments. Avoid cheering or jeering because it could intimidate somebody. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on furniture or leaning against the decorative pieces. If you have a sign, prop, or other piece of equipment, such as a video camera, please make sure that it does not cause disruption or block the views of others. Finally, please do not approach the dais. If you have something to pass out to the council, a staff member can assist you. Our staff is here to help you. If you need any assistance or have any question, please raise your hand and somebody can come help you. And can I have City Council staff raise their hand for the audience? These folks can help you out. Also, we recognize that 2 minutes of comment time may not be long enough and probably isn't long enough for you to get all of your thoughts outlined. Please visit our website or refer to the contact information sheets by the speaker's cards for information about other ways that you can share your comments with the council. We accept comments via email, telephone, mail, or we can also set up one-on-one meetings. And with that, we are now at item A4, acting as the local building authority.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
Is there a second? I have a motion by Board Member Rogers and a second by Board Member Luke. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to item B, public hearings. We have a few opportunities for public comment tonight, and I will call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. I will call 2 people at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone, and the second person, please be on standby, ready to follow. Comment time, again, is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. As a reminder, please help us create a civil and respectful meeting. And I don't have any comment cards here, I don't believe. Would anybody like to speak to our business for the local building authority?
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Penfold, a second by Board Member Rogers. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. As the local building authority, we will now hold, did we already do item 1, the resolution for, okay, excuse me. I now will look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We don't have a, oh, excuse me. All right, that concludes our business for the local building authority. We now move on to the redevelopment agency of Salt Lake City. And tonight, as the RDA board, our public hearing is regarding a resolution adopting the final budget and the employment staffing document for Salt Lake City and related resolution for fiscal year 2017-2018. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak to this matter? All right, I'll look for a motion to continue or close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue the public hearing to a later date.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Luke, a second by Board Member Adams. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. We are now at the potential action items section. Our first item is to confirm public hearing dates for the redevelopment agency budget relating to fiscal year 2017-2018. I will look for a motion to confirm these dates.
Mr. Chair, I move that we confirm the dates of Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017, and Tuesday, June 6, 2017, at 7 p.m. to accept public comment regarding a resolution adopting the final budget and employment staffing document for Salt Lake City, Utah, and related resolutions for fiscal year 2017-18.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Penfold and Board Member Penfold and seconded by Board Member Luke. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. We are now going to adjourn as the Redevelopment Agency Board and convene as the Salt Lake City Council. Welcome to the City Council meeting, everybody. For the record, items G1 through G11 are associated with the implementation of the mayor's recommended budget for Salt Lake City, including the library fund for the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. This is our first public hearing for the annual city budget, and item G1 through G11 will be held together. If you are here to speak about the city's budget, this public hearing is your opportunity. I have some comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
moment of personal privilege, I have a question.
Absolutely.
And this is for the city attorney. I was approached by a member here, and he asked if he wants to speak on all items, does he need to fill out a card for all items? And are we allowing everybody to speak the following weeks as this comes up as well?
Yes, in this case, it's not necessarily just the traditional continued hearing because the budget evolves, so it will, people
So
can
these
speak all
individuals
3
can
weeks.
speak more than just today if they speak?
That's correct.
Okay.
The budget itself is one public hearing, so that would be one opportunity each week to speak.
Okay.
Thanks for that clarification. All right, I have 3 comment cards here. The first is Mimi Charles, followed by Margaret Holloway.
Thank you, Councilmember Kitchens and fellow council members. I am Mimi Charles, President of the City's Library Board, and I'm here tonight to speak in support of the library's fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. State law and city code require that the city library be funded solely with property tax revenues and that there be no other charge to access and use our city libraries and all their contents and programs, whether it be for books, CDs, magazines, the Wi-Fi, to stream music or videos, attend movie nights, story times, lecture, concert, book clubs, and on and on and on. And with the removal of late fines as recommended in this budget, use of the library will truly be free of any barriers of entry. Library cards are free and available to every city resident, and we strive to make them more readily available. We now automatically provide a library card to every child when they register for school in the city. This is the beauty of the public libraries. They are here for all our residents, young and old, English-speaking or not, rich or poor, to use as much and often as we can. And that means our buildings get a lot of use and require us to invest in taking care of them. The library's fiscal year 2017-2018 budget is all about taking care of what we have, and it does require a property tax increase to do so. This is the first tax increase for operation in nearly 15 years, and for the average household, it will mean a $20 increase in the annual assessment. I love libraries and have many childhood memories of walking with my mom to the public library in our small rural town to check out a big stack of books for the week. Picture books, novels, biographies, art books, whatever our hearts desired. And I'll never forget the smell of the Pine Brothers honey cough drops that my favorite librarian, Miss Peck, ate and shared with me. There were no movie theaters in our town, no extra money for a TV or to buy books or records, but we had a public library, and the impact on me was immeasurable. I know you agree, and especially in today's world, we must do everything we can to ensure libraries remain a welcoming and safe place for all city residents, regardless of circumstances, to discover the world that we did as kids. Thank you for your continued support of the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. Up next, I have Margaret Holloway, followed by Jay Ingleby.
I want to thank the council for improving 600 North on the intersection right there after that lady got killed. You guys moved really quick, and it really has made a difference. People see that. I really do appreciate that. I listened to the work session tonight, and I wish Ms. Mendenhall was here. I would like to point out on the huge Riverside Park, 2 blocks from the Par 3 golf course. It is 2 blocks, huge park along the river. We also have Par 3 is now a Frisbee course. It is used by a tremendous amount of students and kids from across the street over in West Point. I wish they can count how many kids come over there and use that before you make a decision on what you want to do with the parks, if you can possibly do that. She also mentioned riding her bike along and taking a picnic. There is a nature park right behind the library on Dayside, Riverside, where you can actually feed the ducks. There is also, if the council could be honest, if you're going to do something else with it, how much it's actually going to cost to the public. Nature in the City wanted to change Par 3 into a nature center. It was going to cost $25 million for that one little tiny section. The riverbanks are extremely steep along that section from Par 3 from 1000 North to, say, the golf club. The bike lanes run behind the houses on the opposite side of the river. So you can't even ride your bike along that. But I just want you to, we can also have movie night on the driving range. There are so many things we can do that on that park. So I'm asking you, please don't to put the $400,000 into the 2 Rose Park golf course. But it's also, he talked about turning the back 9 into a nature park. It's called Homeless Camp for the north side, because that's exactly what it'll do. We've had to kick out numerous people along that area before Reagan's cut down the trees for the people camping along there. So it's our legacy, it's our area, it's our backyard. It's between us and the refineries. And if it has to be kept green, can we not at least get some income out of it? And people can walk along it in the wintertime, and Par 3 is used. I wish, and she can come and have a picnic anytime. There's ducks, there's to be fed, but just please, thank you very much, but thank you for the intersection improvement.
Thanks, Margaret. Up next, I have Jay Ingleby, followed by George Chapman.
Hi, I'm Jay Ingleby. I live in the Glendale Park area. For the last 2 years, I've been trying to get 2 street grants, or 1 if the CIP board will approve it. They've turned me down both times. I have pictures here, if you want to see them, of the streets that I'm talking about. These streets need to be repaired. Having to pay $7 million to have 1 street done seems like an awfully large amount. Now, I've got a mayor who says she's going to get out and help the west side. Everybody asks me where she is. Is she invisible? I don't know. I said, I don't know. I go down to the meetings. I said, well, I'm going down tonight because I would like to see something done with the CIP board, because they're taking too long to get these projects run through the shredder or whatever. We need to get these things decided more, because every day the cost, the longer they take, goes up and up. All right? We can't afford it anymore. The Secretary of State from Washington came here and said, if Salt Lake doesn't do something about its infrastructure in the years to come, it's going to be trillions of dollars. Okay? Our infrastructure is dying out here, folks. Take a look around. Every area, potholes all over, and gutters. I've got some pictures here that we got gutters lifting up. We got places we don't even have a gutter anymore. We have the old rounded off gutter. We got water sitting there. It's a wonder we don't have malaria out there. And I know the other areas have the same problem.
Time.
But we've got to cut back on some of this and make these processes faster, move them faster. They need to be approved, because I got 2 streets that I got to wait for another year. Okay?
Thank you,
No.
Mr. Ingleby.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you. Up next, I have George Chapman, followed by Angelique Brevis.
Okay, I agree completely with Jay. The infrastructure you pulled or repurposed 8.5 million or something like that from the tax increase a few years ago. I'd like you to unrepurpose it and put it back where you said it was supposed to go. And if you don't do it, you're the problem, not Ralph Becker. So please put that $8 million back into streets, please. I have a concern about the budget. One concern, actually the budget's pretty good, thank you very much, but public utilities budget doubled in the last 2 years. I'm not convinced that that's a good idea without a better study or audit. So I'm urging you to consider further study on that budget for public utilities. This is a big deal. It's doubled in the last 2 years. On the golf issue, that golf budget, I still contend that the main reason we're having a problem with the golf is because of the water charges for the golf courses. Other cities and in the county, they don't charge as much for watering the golf courses. Why are we doing it and saying we're going broke on golf? It doesn't make sense. I urge a study on that. On the police, we need more police pay because we're trying to pull experienced cops. Senator Weiler suggested us paying more to offset the pension screw-up we had with Lillenquist. Please consider higher cost or pay for police. And you need to know that firemen, a lot of firemen have second jobs because they can't make it. They can't live on the pay we're paying them. I think you need to consider that when you're considering the budget. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Up next, we have Angelique Brevis, followed by Benjamin Sessions.
Good evening, council members and citizens. I'd like to talk to you about police allocation and police-community relations. There's two problems that I think if they are taken hand in hand, they can provide their own solution. There's traffic, basic level, crossing the street. People are always going jaywalking across the lights. Of course, there's the homeless people who seem to always be doing it, but there's also attorneys on their way to the courthouse, breaking the law, crossing against the light, people going in wearing suits and dresses, crossing to the temple in front of the trains against the light, old people in a hurry to go to the grocery store, and young university students in a hurry to get to their cars and go home, breaking the law. And then for me, I live right across the street. I go out and try to cross the street. Somebody's going through a red light. I cross always with a crosswalk sign down here. I almost get run over too frequently. I think what I'd like to request is that you have police motorcycle officers, especially at these 4 intersections around the city-county building. I think it's a basic level. People are not obeying the law. For the drivers, I think it's partly because maybe they're not obeying the law, but partly they're confused. So many people are going against the light. They get mixed up. What, did the light say green or did it say red? They're not sure because it's kind of a free-for-all. I'd like to suggest again, police officers on motorcycles, they can patrolling this area, giving out tickets both to the vehicles and to the jaywalkers. The second thing is police officers. I don't know the reason. Somebody smarter than me could probably tell you, but there seems to be distrust and hostility on both sides between the citizens and the police officers. I don't know why. And I think I would like to request that you have officers doing foot patrol in the downtown area. That would give the officers the possibility to get to know the community. I see drug deals going down on State Street at the bus stop, people walking down the street smoking marijuana joints. If I knew a police officer was nearby, I would be happy to tell him what I saw. The police officers would get community relations with the people. They would know who are the criminals, who need help. It would, I think, go a long way to develop good relations between the community, and the police officers. So this would be a city where we say, we love our police officers. We're
Time.
a city that does right. We're happy to be here.
Thank you, Angelique.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Up next, I have Benjamin Sessions, followed by Bernard Hart. And Bernie is my final card tonight.
Council members, good evening. I would like to speak in support of the library budget. I'd almost forgotten about the library till I had a son 18 months ago. And my wife now runs a group of over 300 members from moms, and they spend hundreds of hours at the library every year. I didn't know there was such things as toddler dance parties, book baby, and music time, but those little kids love the space. So I wanted to let you know my thoughts. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Up next, and my final card is for Bernie Hart.
I came tonight not knowing the library would be here looking for funding and an expansion of funding, so I thought I'd change what I wanted to talk about to something that's really special for me and my wife, and living in the downtown area and being here over 2 years ago, and that is the Salt Lake Public Library. It is a focal point for this area. It brings something to this area that just a feeling of being there and working with the people at the library have been a wonderful, wonderful thing. And as I think all of you know, we started a program for the homeless over there not too long ago, which is finding some success. And in talking with that community, the library serves a need by simply being there and treating people with respect and offering a place for somebody to go and be safe. And the library, as far as I'm concerned, in the city and in the problems that you're dealing with the homeless community, is going to become the focus of solving your problems and generating hope and support for that community, because it's going to become a problem. And the library has just been, well, just want to say, it's been a great place to be around. So thanks. Take care of them, please.
Thanks, Bernie. I think we can all agree that the library is a huge asset in our city. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak tonight on these items? In that case, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue the public hearing to next week, May 23rd.
I have a motion by Councilmember Luke and a second by Councilmember Penfold. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. This concludes the public hearing for the mayor's recommended budget for Salt Lake City, including the library fund for fiscal year 2017-2018. All ordinances and budget-related items will also be heard as one public hearing, as one item during the May 23rd and June 6th continued public hearings. Our next public hearing is for budget amendment number 4 for fiscal year 2016-2017 relating to the airport bond. And tonight, I have 3 cards, it looks like. The first one is for Patrick Beaker, followed by Rob Breitling.
Hi, my name's Patrick Beaker. I'm with the Southwest Carpenters. You know, we take issue with all the money for the airport, as we know they're not creating quality jobs. The insurance offering that's in the contract out there is a joke, as the vast majority of the workforce rejects the insurance. The contractors don't pay area standards, and the guys reject the insurance, so the contractors are pocketing the money that they have figured for that purpose on that job. It's like a 401k. Companies are real happy when people don't put into it because they pay zero. So when these guys reject the insurance because they're not being paid area standards, the company loves it because they have it figured in the budget, and it turns straight into profits for those companies, which is driving down area standards. So we reject pretty much everything with that airport at this point. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Patrick. Up next, I have Rob Breitling, followed by Calvin Fors.
Good evening, council members. As you said, my name is Rob Breitling. I'm a carpenter too by trade and a member of this community. I've expressed a month ago about my concerns with the use of the money for the airport as well, and the choice of the drywall contractor specifically that was chosen for that project. I will continue to be involved here and express my concerns, and would like to see, in future monies for future projects, better choices for contractors that are responsible and provide insurance for their employees at no cost. I know for me, if I was working for this contractor, I wouldn't be able to afford that insurance. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rob. Up next, I have Calvin Fors, followed by George Chapman.
As a signator.
Good evening, council members. My name is Calvin Fors. I am born and raised here, right here in Salt Lake City, and I'm a member of Local 184, which actually just celebrated its 120th birthday just this month. It's been a big part of this community for several years. My concern is also with the money spent on this airport project. It's using contractors that do not offer apprenticeship training for those young adults graduating right this month who don't want to go to college, or possibly they don't want to pay for it. Some people just aren't cut out for that sort of a thing. The working class is the middle class. Also, the insurance. It's a hot button topic right now all over the country. The money in the bid is for insurance that workers won't pay for, or they can't pay for it because of the substandard wages that those contractors are offering their employees. It costs too much out of their pocket for the premium, so the money goes right back into the pocket of that contractor. These monies should go to the contractors that provide a decent, sustainable wage, provide an insurance package for the employee and the family, and provide funds to train the next generation of workers to support the middle class, to support America. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments to the City Council tonight, Calvin. Up next, we have George Chapman.
Originally, I wanted to talk about the airport tracks program again. You already know what I think. Before you allow the bond to go through, you really need to have a handle on what's going to happen with airport tracks. I mean, if you really were smart, you'd extend it. If you're going to spend $65 million, spend another $40 million and extend it to the International Center, but you should be bonding for that. And I realize that the airport passenger fees issue is a problem, but you need to figure out how to do that before you go through with the bond. And I need to add something else. The people who just spoke before me are absolutely right. I remember your discussion at work session where you were talking about the drywall contractors and the issue they had. It's not been solved. So why are you going forward with this when there's some big issues that need to be solved? You were told there were problems and they haven't been taken care of. So I'm asking you not to close the public hearing, not to move forward with the bond. Take another week or two and figure out what the heck is going on, because this sounds really bad and it's going to blow up in everybody's faces. Please slow down. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Chapman. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? In that case, I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing and defer action to a future meeting.
It has been moved by Councilmember Penfold and seconded by Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Our next public hearing is item G13, and it is regarding an ordinance amending various sections of Salt Lake City Code pertaining to TSA, or Transit Station Area, zoning districts. I have just one card on this tonight, and it's Mr. Chapman. You should maybe grab a seat here in the front, George.
Yeah, I know it's not your fault that nobody's interested, because this is really, really, really important. But, so I'll try and speak for everybody in this city. I'm concerned that this doesn't have enough public feedback. You got it in your report, but the people who need to know about it are up and down Forest South and North Temple. You know that. The sidewalks need to be more than 10 feet. You already have problems with snow blowing onto the sidewalk during the snow days. Trees, you need better trees, but trees also provide a problem with people who want to share the sidewalks with bicycles and pedestrians. There should not be any exceptions to ground floor retail. That's in the ordinance you're considering, exceptions, and there should be no exceptions. So I'm urging you to change that. And I'm also concerned about the potential for road diets. You shouldn't be requiring bicycle paths that take away from lanes, traffic lanes. And you have something in there about pushing for complete streets that would imply you're going for a road diet. So I'm concerned about all of that. I hope it's flexible enough to allow Forest South and North Temple to develop the way they should, but I'm not sure if this is going to help much. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this item? I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we close this public hearing and defer action to a future date.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We are now at the potential action items for our City Council agenda. Item H1 is a resolution authorizing the establishment of a community land trust in the Salt Lake City Division of Housing and Neighborhood Development. I will look for a motion on this item.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the resolution.
I have a motion by Councilmember Penfold
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may, I just would like to commend the staff in hand for looking at some really pretty innovative options for ensuring our affordability going forward for housing. And so I appreciate that this is a new opportunity for us, and I'm really intrigued to see how the staff recommendations follow up on how we can leverage this land trust option in the future. So I don't know if anybody from HAND is here, but if someone could communicate back our appreciation, that would be great.
Thank you, Councilmember Penfold. I concur with your sentiment there. You know, this is a priority for the City Council and the Mayor's office 2 years in a row, how affordable housing is, and I see this community land trust as one of the best tools that we will have long-term to ensure long-term affordability. So this is exciting for me. Now that we have had our discussion, I will look, let's see. All those in favor of this?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? This motion carries. Next, we are at the comments section of our agenda. Are there any questions from my colleagues of the mayor from the City Council here? We have David Litvak representing Mayor Biskupski.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you know if the mayor will be able to be with us one of the nights when we're having the public hearing on the budget?
I don't know the mayor's schedule, but I can definitely pass that along about the
Okay,
desire
yes,
to have her.
I think it'd be nice if she could be here for one of the 3 nights.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Any other comments to the mayor's office? Okay. We will next be taking general comments from the public to the City Council, and we will call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. Just like with the public comment or public hearings earlier, I will call people 2 at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone, and the second person, please stand by ready to follow. As a reminder, please be respectful during other people's comments, no loud noises or other disruptions. Try not to block anybody else's view, and let the council staff help you pass anything out. Up first, we have John Blankenvoort, followed by Douglas Cotant.
I'm John Blankenvoort. So I'm here to talk about the utilities rate increase or the tax increase on that. To me, anytime I hear a tax increase or a rate increase, it's a thing of trust. And in the last couple of months, I think we've constituents here all losing faith with our council, all losing faith with the mayorship. We go back a couple of months where they transplanted a homeless shelter right in the middle of Sugar House, and that was unbeknownst to the folks of Sugar House. They almost came out in pitchforks and torches. The second time that happened was when the Salt Lake City County Sheriff went out and changed the law so that they would not arrest reduced misdemeanors. And all of our city council's meetings, we were experiencing the rate of crime increase. And so I had a problem with that because by changing the law, it basically handcuffed our police officers from arresting these folks. One police officer said, quite frankly, he saw somebody red-handed, couldn't arrest him. They walked around and they found him doing the same thing later on. So, and then they came back and said, we're going to increase your taxes because we see the rate of increase of crime happening. But it's basically we're doing it to ourselves. And I think we need to stop doing these sort of things. We need to have these issues addressed by the constituents first, let them know what's happening, rather than sucking it to them like putting these centers without them knowing they're coming in advance, and also then coming back later and saying the rate your crime is increasing is because we changed the law, and oh, by the way, now we're going to tax you again. This water utility is a little bit of the same. Everyone behind me here knows what's going on. You increase the rate or you increase the taxes, but no one believes that that money is going to where the functions that the city is putting together. I think there's a loss of faith and a loss of trust, and I think someone has to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, John. Up next, I have Douglas Cotant, followed by George Chapman.
First, I would like to ask, where's the mayor tonight? Secondly, I would like to say that I like those, I like the U.S. Capital City, or the Capital City News that I get on my computer, on YouTube, and I would like to meet the lady that does that, Poonam Thamar, and I also would like to ask Lisa, first of all, I might be out of town between June 2nd and June 12th, and when I come back, are you still going to be here? All right. And after I came in to sit down, I was wondering where Mayor Bislewski is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cotant. Up next, George Chapman, and George will be the last comment card that I have. I have a card over here from Bernie, if we could get a staff member to help out.
I think Bernie wants to talk too. John, I love what you said. I completely agree, and I hope you understand that this is a really big issue. It's hitting the fan out there with people, and the tax increases are ridiculous. I know the sheriff's going to be trying something. You're talking about bond. You're talking about a transportation fee. It's a big deal. I wanted to say something about public safety. You know I care about it. Public safety is more than jail beds. We're getting jail beds, but we still do not have prosecutors to keep the bad guys in jail. When I checked with Sim Gill, he said he only had prosecutors for the last Operation Diversion to put 2 people away for a long time. You need to start publicizing the Operation Diversion figures, the number of people who are still in jail and the number of people who are still in treatment, because something's telling me, based on what I'm hearing, it's not doing too well, which means we need to put more prosecutors. Something needs to be done, because if Operation Diversion is not working, we need to know about it. So I'm asking you to publicize the Operation Diversion statistics every month. And with respect to the homeless, I'm concerned that the library, I support the library bond in general. It's needed, but what we're talking about doing is throwing the homeless out of the library. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the plaza. We already have problems with them smoking at the entrance, and I know the police are supposed to be working on it, but it's an issue that needs to be solved and focused on, and I don't see anybody trying to address the issue with the homeless at the library. If they can't wash, if they can't clean their clothes, they're just going to end up getting worse and worse, and that's not what we really want. So I'm asking you to put some of the money from the homeless budget into figuring out how to put a facility, to shower, wash, whatever they need to do, so they don't have to use the library facilities.
Time.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Up next, Bernard Hart, followed by Margaret Holloway.
I thought the public was losing interest in the homeless situation here in Salt Lake. I'm glad that it's alive and well. I've recently requested statistics on Operation Diversion. I felt very uncomfortable in that I had to go through submitting a grammar request to do that, because I thought with all the claims of success and all the claims that were out there about how well Operation Diversion was functioning, people would be more than willing to provide me with data. That is not the case. But in the process of looking for data, which was supposed to be available under this new system for dealing with homelessness, because all decisions are both supposed to be made on data and be data-driven, but a lot of assumptions have been made without the proper data accumulation. And what I'm hearing from different parties involved, without saying who and what, is that they don't have the data. They only have part of the data. And the different entities involved are unwilling to share the data. And I would like assistance from the council in accumulating that data before any more funding is put forward for Operation Diversion, because if this is going to be a data-driven function, and we're going to make good decisions, and people on 7th South are going to come together to either support or not support this facility in our neighborhood, we need information, just like you need information. And if it's not available, like I'm being told, the problem is bigger than just Operation Diversion itself. It's how this system is going to function efficiently and effectively when it's really not efficient or effective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernie. My final card is for Margaret Holloway.
You're right, 2 minutes isn't enough. The charter school, Guadalupe. The Guadalupe school that took a section of the back 9 of Rose Park. I was told the money that was supposed to go into the golf course, because they took a portion of it, was not given to the golf course. If you guys can look out to see where that money was, I was told it was $1.5 million. If it went into the general fund, then the general fund could also give it back. But also, I was curious, I saw the drawings for the 7-story apartments that are going to go at Warm Springs, and I work at the business across the street. We had enough problems stabilizing our own ground when we rebuilt our office building 3 years ago. We had to put 84 pilings underneath our building just because the water table is so high. Our parking lot goes up and down, depending upon the wetness of the season and what Tesoro's doing across the street. So I was really, really surprised, because I thought 3 years ago they were talking about making that into, going with the county, I'll make it in a rec center, because of all the new apartments going in downtown, that it would be used as a rec center. So I was really surprised today that they were going to put 7 stories and underground parking at that location, unless I'm mistaken in what I read today. But I know they're still working on it, but we had so much problem trying to stabilize our own building, and we still get water coming up through the floor in the shop, and it's been there since '45. So, and the brand new office building, the floors are cracking because of the water table. So before you build 7 stories, could you kind of make sure they're going to be stable? I don't know who's building it, if RDA's building it or whom, but we were just really shocked that it was going to be that tall. You know, a couple stories maybe, but 7 stories is just really high. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to the City Council this evening? All right, moving along on our agenda tonight, we have no new business items, item J. Item K, unfinished business. We pulled item K1, so we're on to our second unfinished business item, which is an ordinance to modify regulations pertaining to electric vehicle parking requirements for certain development activity and changing the requirements for electric vehicle parking stalls. I'll look for a motion on this item.
I move that the City Council adopt the first sentence of the proposed ordinance amending Section B.2 of Salt Lake City Code 21A.44.050.B.2 titled Electric Vehicle Parking. The sentence reads, quote, "The following standard shall only apply to multifamily uses," unquote.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Johnston and a second by Councilmember Luke. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, I would like to roll call this one. Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Penfold?
Yes.
I'm a no.
Yes.
That motion carries. On to item L. We are now at the consent agenda of consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move for approval?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rogers, second by Councilmember Penfold. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
If you wouldn't mind, if we could go back there on the motion sheet for the electric vehicle parking stalls text amendment, there is also a second motion that I think we need to address. Is that?
It's entirely up to the council, but we wanted to just be sure that you saw it. And
Okay.
this is what leaves a portion of the petition open so that you can come back and have the discussion about the housing requiring either the infrastructure or the stations for housing. Is that correct, Russell?
So Cindy, if we want to do that, do we need to recall our original motion? Or
No.
can we add
Mm-mm.
this as an additional motion?
This is an
just add
additional
it.
motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion at this point.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember
I
Luke.
also move that the City Council continue to consider and gather public input on proposed new standards in the ordinance amending 21A.44.050.B.2. The proposed new standards include requiring at least 20% of the minimum required parking spaces to have conduit to accommodate wiring for future use of a minimum of 208-volt Level 2 electric vehicle charging equipment, requiring sufficient electrical capacity for future use of a minimum of 208-volt Level 2 electric vehicle charging equipment, defining sufficient electrical capacity as having electrical panels and transformer capacity to accommodate the future use of a minimum of 208-volt Level 2 electric vehicle charging equipment, repealing requirements to locate electric vehicle charging spaces in the same parking lot as the principal building use and locating electric vehicle charging spaces as close to a primary building entrance as possible.
I have a second motion by Councilmember Luke and a second by Councilmember Penfold. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. We've already done the consent agenda, is that correct? Okay. This concludes our formal meeting tonight. Thank you for your attendance at the council meeting. This meeting stands adjourned.